and the rush to buy is pricing them off the islands they helped develop. Reporter Linda Byron joins us tonight with a King-5 extra on the selling of the San Juans.
Well, Michael, the San Juan Islands are rapidly becoming a two-class society of the rich and poor. Workers in the San Juans make less money than their counterparts anywhere else in the state, about 60% of the average wage in the rest of Washington. Yet they pay more to live. Now workers are finding it increasingly difficult to afford the basic necessity of shelter. For them, the real estate boom of 1989 will be remembered as the year of homelessness. The sounds of construction break the early morning stillness over San Juan Island, symbolic of the building and buying boom, now in its 18th month.
Going to put it right up against this, or?
This home will span more than 4,000 square feet, yet many of the carpenters building it have no place to call home. 34-year-old Tom Carter is one of them. He's moved his family 5 times in a year and a half.
We're looking for another place right now. The place that we were in, we had to move out of because the people came back for the summer. And so we've been basically homeless, in a sense, since the middle of June.
It's ironic that the San Juan's bustling economy is creating a greater demand for laborers like Carter while making it more difficult for them to survive here.
These people come up here, they build these big, beautiful homes to stay 2 or 3 months out of the year, then they lock them up and walk away, and we don't have a place. It's frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. My wife's pregnant, and she has a real nesting instinct, and I don't blame her, you know, and I feel responsible for my family.
Most workers need to live in the islands because commuting by ferry is time-consuming and often unreliable. But they are victims of a shrinking rental market. As demand pushes up housing prices, owners are selling or converting to lucrative summer rentals. A place that rents for $300 a month in winter goes for $1,000 a week during tourist season, which now stretches from May to October. The problem has reached crisis proportions. Islanders were shocked this summer when officials found 16 people living in squalid conditions aboard a barge at this cannery near Friday Harbor. A barge without a bathroom and with bad wiring. Other people have moved into abandoned warehouses, storage sheds, anything they can find for shelter.
This is good for a continental breakfast. You exchange this in the dining room.
At the Orcas Hotel, where tourists come for Victorian-style pampering, workers go home to tents and substandard housing. Some are giving up and moving away, leaving employers desperately short of help.
You get the same problem again. I feel I just can't stand to have to search for a cook again. This summer, our head chef, who's a very talented man, worked without a break 7 nights a week from the 1st of May until the 3rd of August.
Why?
Because we didn't have anybody else to cook.
Not far from the Orcas Hotel, photographer Peter Fisher has set up home in a tent. Fisher moved here a year ago when he lost his rental to summer tourists.
People who stay are willing to make the sacrifice, but I don't know for how long they will. And I don't think it'll be a nice place to live once me and my friends go. We're the artists and craftspeople and the people who work in the stores that make it possible for the wealthy to be here as well.
Fisher pays a friend $1 a day to camp on his property.
Back here I have my used die-hard battery. With just electric lights, a battery like that will last for a month or 2.
San Juan County's land use code is so restrictive, tents on smaller plots of land violate density regulations. That's led to a disturbing trend this summer.
People turning in people. That's the #1 problem. Some friends of mine that lived legally in a mobile home, actually it was a large trailer, not a travel trailer, but the next size up, were living legally on a lot, but the people who own land in the neighborhood were so upset simply of the presence of a trailer in the neighborhood that they harassed them so intensely that they simply left.
Fisher is working on developing alternatives. He formed a nonprofit corporation to use state money to buy private land. Low-income residents would then help each other build houses on that land. San Juan County commissioners say they want to build low-income apartments, but they haven't decided how many or where. Everyone agrees it will take time that many islanders simply don't have. And the chasm between the poor and the rich continues to widen.
Really, I feel like it's the heart and soul of the community, the wonderful diversity of human beings that live here, that care about each other, that is endangered.
There's another irony to all of this. Over the last 10 years, San Juan County purposely enacted zoning ordinances to severely limit the development of multifamily dwellings like apartments and condominiums. Now, the idea is to protect the fragile island environment, but critics are asking whether the protection of the natural environment is really a social asset if only the wealthy have access to it.
Linda, based on the evidence you've given us so far, I would guess that this can only get worse.
Well, it certainly doesn't look like it's going to get better, at least not right away. And part of the problem is they just didn't get on it quickly enough. It's going to be very difficult for them to get any approval of low-income apartments or housing. People are going to fight that.
Linda, one of the things you talked about was how the younger people, the carpenters, artisans, etc., are finding it expensive to live there. But I would think with the skyrocketing real estate prices, older people who are numerous in the San Juan Islands, who are living on a fixed income, would be facing skyrocketing property taxes, too.
Exactly. There's a lot of concern for people who are retired on fixed incomes. I've heard stories of people who are selling maybe a little piece of their land in order to pay off some of those taxes. Not only property taxes are going up, but also the taxing districts for hospitals, medical facilities, police, fire, that's all going up, too. It's getting more and more expensive to live up there. For old-timers, they're not making any more money.
Yeah. What about tomorrow?
Tomorrow we'll take a look at a new group that's coming into the San Juan Islands, and that is high-tech industry. A big surprise, but it's coming.
Yeah, it's a surprise. We'll see you tomorrow.
Jeff Renner joined with them, too.
Gene, Linda Byron is here to introduce two of the newcomers in tonight's King-5 Extra, the selling of the San Juans. Linda.
Well, Michael, looking at the San Juans, you'd never guess what you might find lurking amid the rolling pastures and the secluded inlets. Fax machines, Federal Express, and UPS have arrived, and they now make it possible for entrepreneurs to conduct business across the country from a quiet spot in the forest. The San Juan Islands shine like something from another world. In this low-tech setting, the Luxel Corporation is manufacturing high-tech products that will travel millions of miles into space.
Aluminum in the box will melt. Because there's no air in the jar, then the aluminum evaporates. The glass darkening now, aluminum that was in the basket is now distributed uniformly over this glass plate.
In bell jars, metal is heated in a vacuum until it evaporates onto glass plates.
And the atoms are going basically in a straight line fashion. That's why what landed on the glass is the exact replica of the piece of aluminum.
The ultra-thin metal will eventually be carved into filters for use on space telescopes.
As we like to say, if you took 170 layers and stacked them on top of each other, you would have one layer of Reynolds wrap. Pretty thin.
NASA uses Luxel filters to photograph the sun and stars. Like a growing number of corporations, Luxel need not be headquartered in the Silicon Valley to market computer-age products. Thus the move from Santa Barbara to Friday Harbor.
These are the first step in the fabrication of an X-ray laser target.
Across town in another nondescript building, another transplanted California company is doing a bustling business. Richard Hooper and his wife Sharon moved the Nature Recordings Company and 3 families of employees to San Juan Island last fall.
When we came up here to do our recording in October and spent 2 weeks on the Olympic Peninsula, we just fell in love with the Northwest. And when we pulled into Friday Harbor, I said, "Oh, Richard, this is it."
Nature Recordings produces cassettes and compact discs of natural sounds, everything from thunderstorms to lapping waves. Far from their Friday Harbor headquarters, the Hoopers hike into San Juan's pristine forest, seeking to capture the magic that drew them to these islands.
You sort of become one with it, and it feels really good, part of it. And you know you're going to bring something back that in some cases, most people haven't heard. And that's always fun to put that on a recording, and people can go into the wilderness, at least in their heads, where maybe they don't have much time to do that otherwise.
Certainly more preferable than sitting at my desk trying to sell them.
Oh, this is nice.
Oh, this is good.
The Hoopers set up their recording equipment and wait. Wait for the sounds of plane engines to give way to the sweep of breeze across the water or to the buzz of a dragonfly.
Once the extraneous sounds stop, and even if you only have it for a few minutes, it's just wonderful to hear nothing else but the natural sounds, and it's like another world that we've forgotten about.
Eventually, the sounds will become material for nature tapes that sell to customers across America.
Most people that buy the recordings are people that really love nature. They might not have as much time to get out there as they would like, and so the tape's sort of a surrogate for the moment, but they're also probably likely to be the person that every chance they get, they will be out there.
The Hoopers have discovered a way to compete in the high-tech recording industry while living in paradise. It is not just Californians and other newcomers who are driving the high-tech boom. Companies established in the San Juans years ago are also experiencing rapid growth. Take the example of the Cogent Data Technologies. That's a computer software manufacturer that's been in Friday Harbor for more than a decade. Well, this year, Cogent doubled its workforce, hiring employees from as far away as Germany and China.
That's a powerful attraction to have a wonderful business and to have it seated in paradise, as you put it, on the San Juan Islands. Does that mean we'll see more and more of this?
Well, people who live up there hope not, but I think people who are moving up there are telling their friends about it. People have said to me it's the best of both worlds. You get a lot done because there aren't a lot of distractions, and yet when you're off work, boy, you're in a great place.
You're in a great spot.
Linda, you talked about businesses that in many cases bring their own employees with them. For the businesses that hire locals to work in those businesses, how much of a factor is the ferry system, whether it's on or off schedule, whether they can count on it in helping these businesses get employees to the job?
I'd say it's probably the single biggest factor. The ferry system seems to be the driving force behind everything. It's difficult. I can tell you our experience of waiting 6 hours for a ferry more than one time. Ferries don't show up or they're late.
Quickly,
so, big issue.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow we're going, what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow we're taking a look at tourism, good or bad. There's a big debate.
All right. See you tomorrow.
We turn to Jeff Renner now for a look at the weather, and he's promised...
Well, Michael, the debate raging in the islands goes like this. Tourists bring stability, money, and jobs to the fragile island economy. But with more people come more pollution, noise, and traffic, all of which threatens the fragile island ecology. What islanders fear most are tourists who come for a visit and then decide to stay. The secret is out. The San Juan Islands are beautiful, inspiring, and just plain fun. And each year, growing numbers of visitors come to see it all for themselves. The islands are a boater's paradise. And for $50, a person can catch a float plane from Seattle, arriving here in just 45 minutes. The most popular destination is the town of Friday Harbor, where a hot new debate is raging these days. This town of 1,400 residents swells to 8,000 people in summer months. San Juan County's population triples, clogging the harbors and streets and taxing local services. As more and more people come, islanders are asking, how much can the San Juans take?
It has become where the town is just unmanageable. I mean, you don't even want to be in it.
City Councilman Gary Roberts is running for mayor on a platform of controlled growth and tourism.
Unfortunately, it's becoming a bad place because of the growth. Our crime rate has increased. All of our utility costs have just skyrocketed. And so now all the things that I guess a lot of us moved here for are vanishing.
On the other side, tourists bring millions of dollars to the San Juans each year, money that pays for many of the services islanders enjoy.
We need to make some improvements to handle the influx of people, but any place in this country is growing. And the Northwest is one of the premier places of the nation, and we're going to be getting the people.
The people that are making money off the tourism are, I think, making it at a cost to most of the people who live here.
How can you say you can come and you can't come when it's such a beautiful place? You just can't do that.
Beneath the surface of the tourism debate lurks a deep-seated fear of growth. Many current residents came to the islands as tourists. Now they're trying to deter others from doing the same.
They're a bit tentative to speak to us. They kind of hold back. If you're friendly with them, they're friendly with you also. But if you even mention about what a beautiful place they're living in and how nice it would be to live here, they all of a sudden they tend to turn off and discourage you with their eyes, whatever. They become very cautious.
San Juan County is growing faster than any other county in Washington state. Its population is expected to double in 10 years. The influx of people can't be stopped. It will have to be controlled because the call of the islands is strong.
The feel of the islands is something, you can't explain it. It's a place that I will return to soon, I'm sure.
The economic health of the San Juan Islands is definitely improving. There are indications the islands are becoming more stable year-round, less dependent on the summer influx of tourists, and that's due in part to the growing number of permanent residents.
And of course, that growing number is another issue. What about tomorrow?
It certainly is. Tomorrow we'll take a look at Jessica Porter, a vet who gave up a lucrative private practice to rehabilitate wildlife. She seems to embody the spirit of the San Juans.
Oh, that'll be wonderful. It's been wonderful all week. A lot of questions.
Linda, thanks. Well, I think in the first place. Tonight, reporter Linda Byron and photographer George Stark introduce us to Jessica Porter, who represents the heart and soul of the San Juans.
I think you're ready to do that. How about that?
Wildlife drew 40-year-old Jessica Porter to the San Juan Islands, and she believes in giving back.
Here. Oh, that's scary, isn't it?
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
2 years ago, Porter gave up a lucrative veterinary practice here to treat sick and injured wild animals and return them to nature.
Yeah.
I realized that any veterinarian that graduated from vet school could take over my practice, but there weren't very many veterinarians that could deal with wildlife, so I guess it's just the niche that I've carved out for myself.
These seal pups were orphaned or abandoned. In the wild, they would die.
She's been without her mom for such a long time. I know you don't want this.
Seal pups consume 1/5 of their body weight in food every day. And like human babies, they need a lot of cuddling and attention.
She's got some good signs. She's got nice pink gums. We have to do something in rehab that a lot of people don't have to do. We have to cuddle them for the short time that they need maternal handling and cuddling. Then we have to push them away. The one thing we don't want is to turn any animal loose that is too used to human beings.
Preparing food is a never-ending job at Porter's Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. It's also expensive. Because none of her patients are paying guests, Porter relies on donations to keep going.
We get a lot of food from the stores after it's no longer aesthetically pleasing for the humans. They put it out for us, so it works out very nicely. Some of the stuff looks awfully good.
This concoction will be breakfast for Porter's forest friends.
And how to rehabilitate those ones.
Porter is one of only a few vets in the country who treats wildlife full-time. It's her way of becoming one with the island environment she loves.
You can come to a place like this, a woods like this, and you can look around and see no other human habitation, and I think that's very important. I think it's important for the human soul. I see people in the cities, and a lot of them look like their spirits have died. And I think their spirits have died because of the constant bombardment, stimulation, noise, concrete, man-made objects, people, traffic jams, pollution in their lives. And I think a part of your spirit has to die to live like that.
Islanders know Porter's doors never close. They bring in animals of all kinds. With the help of numerous volunteers, Porter nursed more than 300 animals back to health last year.
We're dealing within a population of people that really seem to care, and that is really rewarding. The people donate money to us very readily. They bring in animals to us very readily, and they care. They want to know afterwards what happened to that animal.
This day, Porter will set free a falcon, an American kestrel brought to her as a lost chick. At this moment, Porter worries about whether she's been a good surrogate mom.
You have to let go of my hand, thank you. You ready? Look at that. Look. Look, come on. Come on, can you fly?
All right. And she can certainly fly. That typical falcon flight of just soaring and dipping. I think I've given him everything that I could possibly give him, you know, and just sort of go, good luck, you know, make it. Each kestrel, each raccoon, each whale, each different animal has to have a place where it can be wild and where it can be free. If we lose that, then we lose a part of ourselves.
Porter's work symbolizes the island spirit shared by so many who come here, a spirit of communing with nature and seeking to protect it. There are many, many stories like Jessica Porter's in the San Juan Islands. While shooting our week-long series, I asked Islanders what makes the San Juans so very special. And again, I was told it's the people and their relationship with nature.
Well, Linda, it's worth asking you again then, is it changing in the San Juans because there are more and more people, or is it changing because property is getting so expensive that only certain kinds of people can go there anymore and buy property?
That's a good question, and I'm not really sure I can answer it. I got a variety of answers when I was up there. Some people say what's changing is the attitude, the kinds of people coming. There are those who say, we don't mind people coming from out of state. We just don't want people who want to come here and change us. And yet when you get more people, things do change. So how do you keep it the way it was?
Linda, there are certain gatekeepers, if you will, that limit the amount of development, a limited water supply, a limited ferry service. But beyond those natural limits, how do people anticipate preserving the kinds of things or limiting the kind of intrusion that Jessica Porter talked about, limiting noise, limiting pollution, limiting environmental degradation? Who's working on that, or what are the values that they're working on preserving?
Well, of course, local government is trying to do some of it, and there was a comprehensive plan enacted 10 years ago that calls for limited development. They have very restrictive zoning. There are also groups that are getting high marks, like a group called the San Juan Preservation Trust. They actually go, they buy development rights and preserve open space that way. There seem to be a lot of different activist groups trying to fight to save those areas that are pristine, to develop the open space and hold it. And yet, of course, there is all of this development going on, and you can't stop everyone from coming. So the question is how much is really needed, and are they doing enough? Well, quickly enough.
Let's go back soon and find out.
Oh, I'd love to. I volunteer.
All right, thank you.
Linda, thank you. We're going to check in with Greg Palmer in a minute. He has his eye on the last Alaska.